Tonight's speaker, we welcome Maricris Morrison. Maricris, she, her, is the Director of Fund Development at Pacific Clinics. She is passionate about mission-driven philanthropy and grateful to be part of an agency and community where integrity and compassion are at the forefront. With more than 15 years in the nonprofit sector and a background in project management, communication, and research, she brings a thoughtful, relationship-centered approach to philanthropy and donor stewardship. Maricris will be sharing the details about Pacific Clinics, and as an additional guest speaker for tonight, we will be having Jasmine, who is a client of Pacific Clinics, who will be sharing her story with us. So without further ado, Maricris and Jasmine.
I'm not sure who to address. I saw a little pop up from Charlotte saying, can't wait to hear this talk, but then I see these people. So I'm just going to do this weird combination where I'm going to look at that little camera and then at the people as well. Yes. So thank you for having us. If you can imagine, this meeting was set up between me and Isabel about 3 months ago. So I have been anticipating this exact night and this exact meeting for about 3 months. So I'm very happy and I'm very pleased to be here. Like Isabel mentioned, my name is Maricris, and I am the Fund Development Director over at Pacific Clinics. The hope here tonight is to share the good work that we do and also to share a client story. Both are important because one without the other is simply just one more statistic. So, what we want to do tonight is to share our pathways and how we've crossed paths and how our paths have crossed with you. So, right now, the newest statistic about mental health is that 1 out of 6 people will experience a mental health challenge in their lifetime. 1 out of 6. In my family alone, with my husband, we have 4 kids, 2 adults. We are also 1 of 6. And so the pathway that has led me to Pacific Clinics has been very personal, has been very beautiful, has been very hard. But we are here because we believe in what is truly community work, and really knowing and experiencing for ourselves that we can't go through this life alone and solo. We have to do this together. So at Pacific Clinics, we have been around for over 150 years. I believe that this year marks our 159th year. Yes. Oh, thank you, Isabel. She's clapping. Thank you. Thank you. The history that we have is very human. It started in 1867 with the idea that there were 2 orphanages that didn't have support. And really, the impetus of our agency and the history of it came from the belief that one person, her name was Donaldina Cameron, can make a difference in the lives of children. And what she did was she noticed that there were a lot of Chinese young girls that were being taken and being used. And she said to herself, if I can help even one, it would be worth it. And so she set on her own journey to try and take back the girls. Some of them, she actually was able to reunite with families back in China, which is unheard of in 1867. That is unheard of. Kind of unheard of now, I would say. And what she did was she said, if I can have one child, help one child, and have that one child feel safe again, I will continue to do this until I die. And that is what she did. So she saved over 500 Chinese girls and little boys in the course of her lifetime. And that is the history and the legacy of our agency. So in this region alone, we serve about 8,000 to 9,000 children in Santa Clara County. We do our very best to make sure, because we've lived it, that every child comes in knowing that they are personalized, that their story is unique, that they are accepted, and we are here to help. So we have about 26 programs just in this region alone because we know how hard it is for a family to come in asking for services and then being turned away because that particular situation that they're in is unheard of or too unique or just too cumbersome or too hard to try and meet. What we try to do is have a gamut of services. We call it the continuum of care services so that every single family can fit and find a program that really understands the situation they're in. So we do have an event coming up in May. It is our signature annual event, and we hope to raise as much money as we can to make sure that the programs in this region are being taken care of. One particular program that I want to share and emphasize is called our Wellspring program. And this cuts across all needs and all family sizes. Essentially, this Wellspring program is a discretionary fund where families across any programs that we have here can access it. And we've got a particular client story here who've used this Wellspring funds for herself to make sure that she is where she wants to be. I do want to share that this person in particular, and she'll share her story with us shortly. And I got consent that I can say this because it's such a big, it's a big sentence what I'm about to say. I do not take it. I do not take it lightly what I'm about to say, the sentence. She did not think that she would live to see her 18th birthday. That is a profound statement. And she is 19. So, without further ado, please put your hands together for Jasmine.
Hi, thank you guys. Pacific Clinics has been a part of my life since I was 12 years old. When I say that, I don't just mean I received services there, I mean they watched me grow up. They witnessed some of the hardest, most painful chapters in my life, chapters I didn't even have words to explain at the time. When I first entered Pacific Clinic's care, I wasn't an easy kid to work with at all. I didn't listen to staff. I ran away constantly, and I made it my mission to do the exact opposite of what anyone told me to do. I was angry at the world, angry at myself, and honestly, I didn't really trust anyone. I didn't believe adults stayed. I didn't believe help was real. I believed that sooner or later everyone gave up on kids like me. At 12 years old, I didn't understand why I acted the way I did. I just knew I was hurting. Running away felt easier than sitting with the pain I didn't know how to name. I didn't have the tools at the time to say that I'm scared, I'm broken, or I need help. So instead, I acted out. I pushed people away before they could leave me. At least, I thought they were gonna leave. They didn't. They actually cared. And I tested their limits because I didn't believe anyone would really hold them for long. Pacific Clinics met me at one of the lowest points in my life, though I didn't realize it at the time. But they didn't see me as a problem child. They didn't label me as difficult or impossible. They saw me as a child who was struggling, even when I did everything I could to prove otherwise. And believe me, I tried to do everything. Even when I tried my hardest to push everyone away, they stayed. I started off in Uplift residential care at the age of 12. And I was the last batch of Uplift residential. It was back in 2019. And later on, a few years down the road, I lived in professional parents' homes that were assigned through Pacific Clinics. At that time, I was struggling deeply. Running away wasn't just something I did, it was a pattern. And along with that came major drug use. I was trying to numb feelings I wasn't fully ready to express, and I didn't want to feel anything anymore, and feeling had become too painful. I was also supposed to be in therapy, but honestly, I hated it. I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to sit in a room and open up wounds that I had spent years trying to ignore. I thought if I kept everything buried deep enough, maybe it would disappear. But trauma just doesn't disappear when you ignore it. It just waits. I believe I was around 14 when I started therapy with Duyen, and she's my therapist till this day. At the time, I didn't want anything to do with her when I first met her. I heard therapy. I said no. I ignored every questions that she asked. I changed the subject constantly, but most importantly, I shut down. I wasn't fully ready to talk about what had happened to me at the time. By that point in my life, at 14, I had experienced multiple sexual assaults. I've dealt with multiple emotional abuse through foster homes, and I'd been through about 18 different placements in a time span of 4 years. I never really felt safe enough to unpack any of it. My trauma followed me everywhere. It showed up in my anger, it showed up in my running away, and it showed up in my addiction. But I didn't know how to face it without completely falling apart. For a long time, I kept everything locked up inside. I was terrified that if I opened up, I would break beyond repair. I was scared of being judged. I was scared of reliving the pain. And I was scared what would happen if someone really knew my story. But Duyen, she never forced me, she never rushed me, and she never gave up on me. She stayed patient and she stayed consistent. She stayed even when I made it difficult. And slowly, but very, very slowly, I began to trust her. After about a year or so, I finally started opening up to her. And that's new to me because I've had more therapists and I've had placements. And I've had about 20 different placements. No therapist lasted for me over 6 months. Because after when I felt like they wanted to hear my story, I was like, no, 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 no. I don't want you no more. You're getting too personal. Like, I know that's your job and all, but please go be personal with somebody else. But, for the first time in my life, I was able to start being able to put words to my emotions rather than acting them out. I learned that my anger had a source and that my behaviors had meaning. I wasn't bad, I was just hurt. Alongside therapy, I was also constantly involved in wraparound services because I was considered an at-risk youth. Can you believe that? At risk? What? Me? Due to my AWOL patterns and other challenges, including a meth addiction. I was meeting with people multiple times a week. That was when I wasn't running away. Um, and I had constant check-ins when I was running away and phone calls. And even when I went to rehab for my addiction, when I stepped away to focus on my recovery, Pacific Clinics didn't abandon me. They didn't close the door, and they just gave me time to heal, and they waited for me. One of the hardest parts of my healing journey was attending CSA groups. CSA is for youth who are survivors of sexual assault. And during the groups, they prepare us to write a trauma narrative about our experience. Facing my sexual assault traumas was terrifying. There's days I didn't want to go at all. There's days where I skipped the group, days where I showed up and left before it finished. And I would just wait outside. I didn't want to sit with that pain. And days where sitting in that room when I did, it felt unbearable. I even left before finishing the cycle the first time, and there was days where I wanted to just give up on it completely. But Pacific Clinics didn't let me walk through it alone. They showed me support through every step, even when I stumbled, even when I failed. And even when I had to try again, because believe me, Julian told me I had to do it again. She didn't let me go, unfortunately. And honestly, if Pacific Clinics hadn't been there to support me through CSA, I don't think I would have healed from a lot of my trauma. And when Duyen handed me my CSA certificate after my second attempt, it felt like a full circle moment. Because at the end of it, all the kids, they got their certificate from their parents. And because the parents had a section where they were working with, to help their kid, but I was a foster youth, I didn't have parents at home to talk to me about my traumas. I had Duyen. When she handed me my certificate, they said Jasmine Randolph, and in my head, I was like, no one's going to come for me. I'm a foster kid, Duyen came with my certificate. And she cried. And, Duyen doesn't cry. She's a hard therapist, But when she handed me my certificate, it felt like a full circle moment because I wasn't the kid who finished things on time. I wasn't the kid who completed things easily, and I was the kid who quit, I ran away, or I self-sabotaged. And yet there I was holding proof that I'd done something incredibly hard. That moment showed me something I had never believed before, that I was capable, that I finished what I started, that growth was possible for me too. Another huge support in my life was the Hope Center. The groups, the activities, and the sense of community kept me connected when isolation felt safer. It gave me something positive to hold on to when everything else felt unstable. It reminded me that healing doesn't always happen alone. It happens in connection, in shared spaces, and in moments of laughter mixed with pain. Pacific Clinics didn't just help me survive my childhood, they watched me grow up. They saw every version of me, the angry kid, the scared teenager, and the young person trying to find their place in the world. They stayed when I messed up, they stayed when I relapsed, and they stayed when I doubted myself. Since turning 18, my life has changed in ways I thought was never possible. I'm now 19 and over 2.5 years clean from my addiction. I graduated the wraparound program and transitioned to the KDA program, which is a lower level program of care. I moved from shared living homes and into my own apartment through THP NMD, and I got approved before I even turned 18. Something I once believed was completely out of reach for someone like me. In May of 2024, I graduated high school, and in that moment meant more to me than I could fully put into words. Growing up in my background, at least the background I created for myself, graduation never really felt like a promise or a possibility, and you heard her say I didn't think I was going to live till I turned 18. It felt like something that was meant for other people, but not for someone like me. There were so many times where I doubted myself, so many moments when I thought I wouldn't make it this far, and so many obstacles that tried to convince me to give up. Due to my addiction, I want to say I skipped about a semester and a half of my time in high school because I was absent due to my addiction. I was constantly running away. I was constantly using. I had a whole semester of just Fs. My GPA flunked really bad, and I wasn't even a senior yet. However, when I was standing there with my diploma, knowing that I finished with a 3.6 GPA, I brought a mix of pride and heartbreak because I couldn't help but think about the younger version of myself who never believed this future existed. And fun fact, at my high school graduation, my elementary school principal was there. And she gave me a gift card. I felt pretty lucky, you know. I'm also almost finished completing my KDAC certification at San Jose City College, and KDAC stands for Certified Alcohol and Drug Counseling Certification, to become a drug counselor. I'm working towards helping others who are carrying the same pain I once carried alone. And next fall, I'll be taking my practicum, which is supervised internships with centers like Pathways and other centers to help with people who are at risk in addiction. None of this happened overnight. None of it was easy. But Pacific Clinics believed in me before I believed in myself. They gave me stability when my life felt chaotic. They gave me tools when all I had was survival mode. They showed me that healing isn't linear and that setbacks don't erase progress. Because of Pacific Clinics, I'm not just surviving, I'm becoming. I'm learning who I am beyond my trauma. I'm learning that my past does not define my future. And most importantly, I'm learning that I was always worth fighting for, even when I didn't think so myself. Pacific Clinics didn't help just raise me, they helped save me. And for that, I will always be grateful.
All right. Any questions? And people on Zoom, we can hear you. Maricris might need a moment. I might need a moment.
Sorry.
Any questions? No, I mean, that makes you a great storyteller, right? The fact that you evoked emotions in people, it makes you a great storyteller. So good job.
Last month, or no, October, I was also on the news for opening the hub in San Jose for foster youth. I did the grand opening speech with the mayor of San Jose, which felt really scary because I also got to meet Congress ladies and just higher class people that I just didn't think I would be meeting. I found out they had like Secret Service there. I was like, whoa, whoa. And I didn't know that I was going to be on the news until the next day. My friend sent me a video on TikTok and they're like, ma'am, this is you on my For You page. And I was like, oh.
All right. Questions?
Where's this located?
The hub, so it's a resource drop-in center for foster youth, and it's located off of Parkmore Avenue. Attached to the hub is also 21 and up housing for NMD plus youth, because 21 and up, unfortunately, is the higher need for housing these days for NMD. And so when you're 21 and you need a place to stay as a foster youth, you could stay there and utilize the hub on the bottom floor for free laundry and showers, whatever you need while you're there.
So that is a wonderful resource that she mentioned, and Pacific Clinics really tries very hard to know what the resources are within our community. For Pacific Clinics locations, we have one in Los Gatos, which is where I'm based at. We also have a location based on 232 East Gish Road. That, yes, and we also have a location over at Mountain View, which is our newest location, which is an FRC, a Family Resource Center.
And it's called Pacific
Clinics. Yes. We've had numerous name changes. So Pacific Clinics is our newest branding iteration, and we were called Uplift Family Services. We were also called EMQ Families First, and EMQ Eastfield Main Quang. And in Jasmine's story that she shared, she mentioned at least 4, maybe even 5 different programs that, and that's wonderful. I would just like to say I am an emotional person. I just teared up because I've never heard her story. And she offered to show me her speech last night, and I said, I'm just gonna listen with my heart. And so I started bawling like halfway in the middle of it. So thank you for sharing, Jasmine. Thank you. Any other questions?
And hi, Charlotte. I see you on there. I miss you.
Charlotte did make a comment while you were speaking. I believe she said, "I love this story." Yeah, I love this story so much. And then she put 3 hearts, 3 blue hearts.
Very important.
I needed it to be clear. So I do have a question. How did each of you find out about what is now called Pacific Clinics? Like, who introduced you to it?
So for me, I was at the Rake as a kid. And that's where foster youth who don't have placement go until they get housed. And as I mentioned, I was first put into residential. I was a really bratty kid, and they told me, hey, there's this higher level residential called Uplift. And in my head, I didn't want to hear that name at first because, higher level? I'm 12. I don't need to be no higher level. But DFCS referred me to them because my level of care that I needed was a lot more better, or was a higher need than like Rebecca's at the time or Unity Care. And I've worked with all of them. And Pacific Clinics matched my specific behavioral needs compared to the other centers or organizations that I've worked with.
And as for myself, I actually heard about it was Uplift Family Services when I first joined. I heard about it through my dad. I was relocating from Southern California to Northern California, and my dad, when he was still around, he said, "Check out Uplift Family Services. Sounds like they could use you." Is what he said, because I was very into research. I was very into strict methodology of project management and understanding what it took to help a child. Because helping a child sounds so easy, but it is not easy. It is as far away from easy as you can possibly get. And I wanted to provide direct service, but I wasn't sure if I had what it took. And so I wanted to be a more supportive, administrative person. And my dad said, check out Uplift Family Services. And I did. I never looked back. So I have been at this region, at this agency for coming on 11 years now.
Char put something else on the chat. 1 second. Okay, so Char put, I love all the details. I'm in public, so limited in reply, but I'm grateful for the details. I grew up in the system. I like the details. The fact that they matched your needs is astounding to me. I want to know more automatically. This is what new practices especially need. Thank you for being brave enough to share your experience.
Thank you. And that's why I wanted to do KDAC. When I first, believe it or not, I went into college at 17. And you don't see 17-year-olds going in for KDAC, you know? I wasn't even of age to do any of the drugs I was studying. And it felt weird to me because when I first went into the classes, everyone was in their like 40s and 50s. And then there was my little 17-year-old self sitting in the back of my backpack. But I wanted to be in the field of alcohol and drug study because as a kid with addiction who wasn't listened to, I know how it feels. And I know that there's needs for adults, but there's also needs for youth and adolescents. And unfortunately, that's not a high level of, there's not a lot of places anymore that take care of youth in rehab facilities. I was in one, they treated me like absolute crap. It was more of a daycare than it was a rehab. We had multiple youth relapse there on fentanyl and more than other drugs, which shows their level of supervision as a rehab, you know. Um, the other one that I was supposed to be referred to, commonly known as a camp recovery, declined me because of my AWOL. And it's understandable, but as a 16-year-old who asked to go into rehab, I felt kind of like as like a stab in the back to me. So to be able to go into it as a child myself, to know, okay, this is what I need to do to help other youth, it gives me that clear mindset. And who knows, having a 20-year-old, you know, addiction counselor who knows real life, because she was dealing with meth addiction from ages 12 to 16, I can give back.
It's beautiful. It definitely needed, right? That connection to be able to really speak to the youth is something that's missing. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to all the great things you're going to do in the future. Do we have any other questions? No. Okay. So then I have little goodies for you. These are thank yous for coming and speaking to our club.
Thank you.
All right. Now let's give a big round of applause to our speakers. Thank you so much. Really was just like emotional, heartwarming, heartfelt, all of the things.
Wow, yeah. I mean, oh, I'm glad I didn't read it because yeah, oh no, yeah. And I will say this because Jasmine mentioned DN and I know DN very well. And I will say that what has kept me staying at this agency is the people. Like truly, the people that have stayed, DN is one of them. They stay with their whole heart. I can't I am in awe of the people that provide the direct service care, and it is wonderful. I'm going to leave 3 flyers, okay? There's one is very very basic. It's talking about the agency as a whole. So we are a statewide agency. We go up from all the way up to Sacramento, all the way down to Los Angeles. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, that's so. And then the second flyer is specific to our Bay Area region. So, like I mentioned, we have more than 26 programs here. Jasmine actually mentioned 6 when she like started talking about it. She added 2 more. I was like, okay. And then the last flyer, thank you so much. The last flyer is our Bay Area holiday giving. I know it, you know, the season's just ended. We officially close out holiday giving end of January. So if anybody would like to learn more about this, please scan this and you can learn a little bit more.
Really quickly, sorry. I also utilized the Rotary scholarships that they offered for schooling, which I wanted to thank you guys for, because I was able to get clothes that I needed for school. And starting college, I thought that I had to get a whole dress code because I was like, my clothes was not the best. You know, I was a runaway kid. I didn't have college clothes. So the Hope Center gave me the scholarship through you guys, and I was able to get clothes. And so, thank you. And one thing with, I know I'm not trying to like, you know, enhance Duyen a lot, but when I say that she helped me, and I want to, because not a lot of this doesn't happen a lot with youth like me, you know. I ran away on my 17th birthday for 3 months. If you know the rules of programs and stuff, to close after a certain amount of time. Duyen fought really hard to keep my case open for that 3 months that I was AWOL. I stayed. She told me I had to go to CFTs or I'm out, and I went. And the county tried to convince me to come back. I said no. Wraparound tried to convince me to come back. I said no. Duyen, after 3 months, she's like, listen, I'm tired of this. If you come to the session at 4 o'clock, I'll get you whatever food you want. And, you know, as a runaway of 3 months, I was kind of hungry, you know, and she knew that. And I was like, for real? And she was like, yeah. And she knew at that age, I like to test people's limits. I went to Outback. I got the most expensive steak. And I sent her the order. I said, so this is what I want. And I thought she was going to say no, you know. I purposely tried to get her to say no. I had a habit of that. And she said, okay, you better be here at 4 o'clock. Best believe I called the county right as she said that. I said, pick me up. And I was at session. So they work with you.
I think that is a really good example of knowing your kid, right? So Deanne knew her. So
Well, we are going to move on to club business. You're welcome to stay and hang out, or you can go ahead and make your leave if that's what you're interested in. Or if you want more food, you can have more food.